Myself real quick. My name is Connor. I'm the organizer out here in Elko. I'm just over on 875 Railroad Street. So please feel free to stop on by. The reason I'm out here talking to you today is because there's a lot at stake during this election for me and my family. I grew up with a mom who's a type 1 diabetic. And I don't know how much you guys know about diabetes, but it's scary. Without insurance, my mom would literally be paying $1,000 a month just to stay alive. I just accepted that as a fact of life until I heard about this guy called Bernard Sanders. He made me realize that, we shouldn't have to accept in the richest country in the history of this planet that people are choosing between medication and food. It's ridiculous. And that is why we need to elect this man as the 46th president of these United States. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This isn't going to be an easy fight. We're up against the same people who have been buying off our government for decades and will do anything to protect their profits. Fortunately, if you can look to your left and right, we got people power. This is an important election, and as soon as you leave this rally, we need you to go out to your neighbors, whether that's in Elko, Ely, Winnemucca, Battle Mountain, wherever. The way we're going to win this thing is getting out there and talking with folks. And luckily, we have a tool that has made this easier than ever before. It's called the Burn app. Basically, what it allows you to do is go out and identify your friends, family, and neighbors, and talk to them about Bernie. I'm sure some of you were invited to this event because one of your neighbors said, "Hey, this guy also likes Bernie," and that's why we ended up inviting you to this event. With Burn, you can get out there and talk with people right away. Every time you talk to somebody in Burn, you can track that response. And that's going to be another voter that's going to be crucial to making sure Bernie wins Nevada in February 2020. Day by day, we're building the political revolution in this state. And that is why we need your help. In order to do that, we're going to need on top of talking to your friends, we're going to need you to go out there and talk with people you might not know. It might be a neighbor you've heard, barely talked to, or, it could be a complete stranger. This is a huge area, and it's so important that we get out there and talk to folks directly, reaching them with knocking doors and phone calls. We're also going to need plenty of people out there helping us organize the people during the caucuses to make sure they run as smoothly as possible on February 22nd. We need folks out there. We're holding events in Winnemucca, Ely, and of course at our office in Elko in our upcoming weekend of action, the 14th and 15th. And we need everybody who can to get out there and talk with the event. We also need folks coming in from Utah and Idaho, and we need folks to help house people out there. This is incredibly important. Every little bit makes a difference. And if you have any questions, you can come and talk with us after the town hall. With that, I would like to introduce Tahare. Please come on up.
Good evening. I stand before a nation divided, more now than it has been at any time since the Civil War. We are a nation that is no longer leading the world in education. Only the well-off of this country can afford college. We are no longer the pioneers of the free world, nor can we call ourselves leaders at all. I would take no pride in calling myself an American if I went and traveled abroad today. Our methods of healthcare, education, and legal system have brought our country to a standstill. The middle class that used to be very prominent in our country is rapidly disappearing, making it only possible for the rich to afford higher education, while the other economic class, the poor, cannot, without major struggle or scholarships. I am a college student. The only reason that I am able to afford an education is because of my father's military service. Without that, I would not be attending college today. And many cannot because of their economic struggles. The e pluribus unum on our coins means one people united. That was the America of my father's time, not the America of today. The lack of justice becomes more and more evident as time goes on. The last 6 words of our Pledge of Allegiance are, with liberty and justice for all. We need a president that can unite us with that liberty and justice that our country was built upon. I believe that Bernie Sanders is that man. My name is Tahir Adams, and I support Bernie Sanders for President of the United States. With that, I would like to present Heather.
Hi, Elko people, and some out-of-towners apparently. I'm Heather Monger. I am so excited to be here today to talk to you guys about why I love Bernie Sanders. There's no other candidate that has his integrity and his unwavering moral compass. He has been fighting for people's inherent rights and dignity for decades. He marched with Martin Luther King Jr. for civil rights. He has fought for women's rights. He has stood with the LGBTQ community. He has fought for immigration rights and pathways to citizenship. And in all these things, he continues to fight. He gives voice to many who do not have a voice. I am a fourth generation Elkoan, and I love living in our northern Nevada town. Our beautiful mountains, our vibrant community, is an amazing place to live. But even with that, many of us have issues when it comes to access to health care. Many of us do have jobs and have insurance, but we don't have providers here that take our insurance. For many of us, some of us, can actually travel out of town to have providers. We have to leave town to get to them. But for many of us, that is not an option, and they just go without. I was talking to a family friend, and he had a well-paying job for many years, but and with great benefits. But now that he's in retirement, he needs knee surgery. It is a sad thing where a person who's worked their whole life, now in retirement, has to say, well, I need knee surgery, but I also need to pay some bills. And so he just goes without. I have another friend, about my age, not too much younger, and she has worked in minimum wage jobs and just always worked in minimum wage. She's always made enough not to actually qualify for Medicare. And she too would need knee surgery if she could get it, but instead, she just wraps her knees and hopes for the best. Bernie understands the inherent dignity of all of us. And he understands that all of us are in the same boat. Sooner or later, the higher wage earners and the lower income people, we all have issues when it comes to healthcare. So when he says, not me, us, he's right. It isn't just me, it's us. So I'm really, really excited to introduce Bernie Sanders to our wonderful little town. Can we say, not me, us, 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 not me, us.
Thank you, Elko. And before we go any further, let me introduce to you the next First Lady of the United States, Jane Sanders. And let me thank Connor Mulhern and Terry Adams and Heather Mongo Nerero for their kind remarks. And let me thank all of you for coming out to discuss politics at an unprecedented and dangerous moment in American and world history. I'm running for president not just to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country, although we are going to do just that. And it gives me no pleasure to tell many of you what you already know, that we have a president who is a pathological liar, who is running an extremely corrupt administration, a president who is a racist, who is a sexist, who is a religious bigot, who is a xenophobe. Other than that, he's a pretty good guy. But this, you know, we all have friends who have different political points of view than we do. But somebody of that temperament, who lies every day, who is trying to divide our people up based on the color of our skin or where we were born or our religion or our sexual orientation, that is not somebody who should be president of the United States. And I'm coming before you today to tell you that I believe I am the strongest candidate to defeat Trump, and we're going to do just that. But what I also want to tell you is that our campaign is not just about beating Trump. It is about transforming this country and creating an economy and a government that work for all of us, not just the 1%. What does that mean? What does it mean? What it means today is you have a political system which is largely corrupt. It is corrupt in the sense that instead of having a system of one person, one vote, we have a system dominated by billionaires who can spend as much money as they want to elect candidates who represent the wealthy and the powerful. And what our campaign is about is saying the time is long overdue to have a government that represents the working class of this country, not just the billionaire class. And in that regard, I am extremely proud to tell you about the transformation that our campaign has brought to campaign finance in politics in America. I am enormously proud to tell you that as of this moment, our campaign has received more campaign contributions, 4.2 million separate contributions from 1.2 million people. That is more contributions from more people than any candidate in the history of the United States of America. And you know what the average contribution is? It's $18. $18. That means that all over this country, you got working people who are making 11, 12, 15 bucks an hour are sending us $10 or $12 or $15. The largest group of contributors that we have are teachers. We get thousands of contributions from workers at Walmart, at Burger King, at Target. Working class people who are sick and tired of the status quo and want a government that is going to stand up for them and not just their bosses. So, but it's not only a political system which works for the wealthy and the powerful. It is an economy that is significantly rigged. Right now in America, we have 3 people who own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Got that? 3 people. Over the last 30 years, I want you to hear this, the top 1% have seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth. $21 trillion increase to the top 1%, bottom half of America actually seen a decline in their wealth. Today in America, half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. You know what that is? Paycheck to paycheck? I suspect many of you do. And that means that if your car breaks down and you need $500 to get your car running again, and you don't have that $500, you may not get to work. And if you don't get to work, you lose your income. You lose your income, you can't take care of your kids. People all over this country living day by day wondering how they're going to put food on the table, pay the light bill, put gas in the car. Today in America, as we speak tonight, there'll be 500,000 Americans, including 30,000 veterans, sleeping out on the streets of this country because we got a Congress more interested in giving tax breaks to billionaires than building the low-income and affordable housing that we need. So it is time, and what our campaign is about is to change the priorities of this country. Instead of giving tax breaks to billionaires, instead of spending more money on the military than the next 10 nations combined, it is time to pay attention to the working families, to the children, to the elderly, to the disabled, the people who need some help. So let me tell you a little bit about what our agenda is. Our agenda is not complicated. Our agenda says that if you work for a living in the United States of America, you should not be living in poverty. And that means we're going to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. It means that we're going to provide equal pay for equal work so women don't make 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. It means that we're going to make it easier for workers to join unions. Because we know that millions of workers want to join unions today, but are unable to do so because of illegal employer opposition. It means that we're going to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, our roads and our bridges and our water systems, and our schools. And when we do that, we create millions of good-paying jobs. And I'll tell you what it also means. What a progressive agenda means is that we're no longer going to ignore the future of this country, our children. Right now, we have one of the highest rates of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. You all know that? We're the richest country in the history of the world, and we have an outrageously high rate of childhood poverty. I don't know about Nevada, but I can tell you that in Vermont and many parts of this country, our child care system is dysfunctional. All right? Mom is working, dad is working, and working class families cannot find quality, affordable child care. That's unfair to the parents, it's unfair to the children. Psychologists tell us that 0 through 4 are the most important years of human development. That's when kids develop emotionally and intellectually. And we have got to make sure that they have the best education and care that they have. And that is why we will bring about universal, affordable pre-K education in this country. And because we believe in our children, we're going to put substantial sums of money in creating the best public school system in the world. And if you believe in kids, you got to believe in the people who educate those kids. And that is why we are going to move toward making a situation possible where no teacher in this country earns less than $60,000 a year. I want young people to go into teaching, which is one of the most important professions out there, with pride, not having to work 2 or 3 jobs, not having to take money out of their own pockets to buy school supplies. Let's get our priorities right. Education and educators must be a major priority for this country. And I also want every person in this country to be able to get all of the education they need, regardless of the income of their family, which is why we are going to make public colleges and universities tuition free. And which is why we are going to cancel all student debt in this country. And my critics say, well, Bernie, that's a nice idea. What other free things do you have for us? What else are you going to do? How are you going to pay for it? But I want you all to think about something. And this is what our campaign means by thinking outside of the box. 11 years ago, we bailed out the crooks on Wall Street, people who destroyed the economy, who acted illegally, gave them trillions of dollars of zero-interest loans. Not a problem, because that's Wall Street. They are the rulers of the empire. They are the wealthy and the powerful, and of course we have to bail them out. A couple of years ago, Trump and his friends, against my vote, gave $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1% and large profitable corporations, including Amazon, made $10 billion in profit last year. Anyone know how much they paid in taxes? That's right, all right? So if we can bail out the crooks on Wall Street, if we can have a situation where the wealthiest guy in this country, Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, his company doesn't have to pay a nickel in federal taxes, you know what? We can cancel all student debt in this country by imposing a modest tax on Wall Street speculation. Four years ago, I came to Nevada, and I said what was perceived then to be a radical idea. I said that health care must be considered a human right, not a privilege. Four years ago, that was perceived to be a radical idea. Not anymore. Not anymore. Because people increasingly understand the dysfunctionality and the cruelty of the current healthcare system. And I want all of you to hear this, because you're not going to see it much on TV. But we spend twice as much per person on health care as do the people of any other industrialized country. Twice what the Canadians do, what the British do, the French do, and so forth and so on. But somehow they manage to provide health care for all of their people, while in America today, we got 87 million people who are either uninsured or underinsured. And let me underline the word underinsured. Okay? What underinsured means, you all know what that means? It means you may have insurance, but you can't go to the doctor because you have a large deductible. You have a copayment that you can't afford. You're paying outrageous prices for prescription drugs. So for that system, we're spending twice as much as the people of any other country. Well, I have a different idea. My idea is that health care quality health care should be available to all people, and that the function of the system is to provide quality care to all, not to make $100 billion in profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies. I just want to say a word about what Medicare for All means. And we're building on what the Canadians do, and we can do it a lot better. It means that you no longer have any premiums. It's gone. You don't have a premium, your employer doesn't have a premium. It means there are no co-payments. It means there are no deductibles. And when you stop and you think about deductibles, take a step back and realize what an insane proposition that is. It says, oh, you have insurance, but your insurance doesn't kick in until you spend $5,000 out of your own pocket, or $8,000, $10,000, whatever it may be. How crazy is that? We get rid of all deductibles, we get rid of all out-of-pocket expenses, and this is what else we do. We expand Medicare to cover dental care. That an issue around here? Okay, hearing aids, eyeglasses, and home health care. Home health care. Now, is health care free? No. Health care is a pretty expensive proposition, actually. How are we going to pay for it? Well, instead of paying for it, as we do right now, with premiums that many people can't afford, out-of-pocket expenses, co-payments, we do away with that. And what we are going to say, among other things, is that you're going to pay a 4% tax on your income, exempting the first $29,000. That means if you're the average family in America, you earn about $60,000 a year. You exempt the first $29,000 from taxation, you got $31,000 to be taxed at 4%. That's $1,200 a year for comprehensive health care. That's a pretty good deal. Now, I get criticized by the Republicans, I get criticized by the healthcare industry, I got criticized by the Democratic establishment. But I want you to ask them, how are we paying for healthcare right now? And I'll tell you how you're paying for it. If you're that average family making $60,000 a year, you're paying about $12,000 a year for healthcare. 20% of your income. That is an outrage. So when you hear people criticizing me about how we're going to pay for them, our plan will provide health care for the average American for 10% of what he or she is paying right now. That's a pretty good deal. Now, how do we do that? How do you manage to do that? I'll tell you how you do it. Number one, last year, the drug companies and the insurance companies made $100 billion in profit. Under our plan, trust me, they're not going to make $100 billion in profit. Number two, even more importantly, and I want you to think about why this system is so dysfunctional. Probably in this room, or certainly, well, in the country, you got people who have thousands of different health care plans. You have a $5,000 deductible, you got a $10,000. You're paying $1,000 a month in premiums, you're paying $1,500, you're paying $500. You are eligible for this prescription drug, you got that network and that prescription drug. You're employer-based, you are self-employed, you got your own health insurance program. You're on Medicaid, you're on Medicare, and so forth and so on. To administer all of these programs is an incredible bureaucratic mess. It is costing us hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. On the Medicare for All, which is paid for out of the general tax base, you go into the doctor, give them your card, that's it. No bureaucracy. Go to the hospital, you give your card, no bureaucracy. You don't have to argue with the insurance company about whether you're covered or you're not covered. That's it. Some of you may know it, some of you not. Right now, if you go in Canada, if you end up with a very serious illness, You're in the hospital for a month. Do you know how much you pay when you get out of the hospital? Zero. Quality care is as good or better as is in the United States. People in Canada actually live longer than we do. So this is the moment when we have got to do the right thing. And the right thing is to have the courage to take on the greed and the corruption of the insurance companies and the drug companies and make sure that health care in America is available to every man, woman, and child as a human right. No out-of-pocket expenses, no premiums, no co-payments. Everybody in America has a right to go to any doctor they want, any hospital they want. Healthcare is a human right, and we are going to achieve that when we are in office. I want to touch on another subject. And as I talk about it, I don't want to get you too nervous, but it is an issue that has got to be dealt with because the future of the planet is at stake. Now, I disagree with Donald Trump on everything. And I don't even like him personally. But there is one area where his ignorance is not only hurting the people of our country and future generations, but the entire planet. Trump maintains the mythology that climate change is a hoax or it is not man-made. So let me be very clear with you. The scientific community, within the scientific community, the debate is over. Climate change is real. Climate change is caused by human activity, the emission of carbon. Climate change is already causing devastating problems in Nevada, in Vermont, all over our country, and all over the world. And here is what is really scary. What the scientists are telling us is that they have underestimated the severity and the speed in which climate change is ravaging our country and the world. And what they are telling us is if we do not move extremely aggressively in transforming our energy system and leading the world, this is not just an American issue. We can't solve it alone. It's a global issue. If this planet does not move, the countries of the world do not move aggressively to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy, the planet that we will be leaving our children, grandchildren, and future generations will be increasingly unhealthy and uninhabitable. I wish I could tell you this was not a major, major crisis. I wish I could tell you that, yeah, we could do a little bit here and a little bit there, things will be all right. If I told you that, I would not be telling you the truth. And that is why I have listened to the scientists and I've introduced the most comprehensive and sweeping climate change legislation ever offered by any candidate for president in the history of this country. And this proposal is based on the Green New Deal. I have introduced it along with members of Congress like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others. And what it does is create up to 20 million good-paying jobs as we start retrofitting older buildings. We waste a huge amount of energy. And we can put people to work making our buildings and our homes more energy efficient. What our proposal does is invest very heavily in wind and solar. States like Nevada should be leading this country in the world in terms of solar energy. And we can create those wind turbines and the solar panels right here in the United States creating even more jobs. But at the end of the day, not only do we have to transform our own energy system, what makes this problem even more frightening and more complicated is we have got to lead the world. We have got to lead the world. And as president, what I see my job as telling the Russians and the Chinese and the Indians, the Pakistanis and the Brazilians, the people all over the world, that maybe, just maybe, instead of spending 1.8 trillion a year on weapons of destruction, maybe we should pool our resources and fight our common enemy, which is climate change. So this is an issue we cannot run away from, because we have a moral responsibility to make sure that the planet our kids and future generations inherit is a planet that is healthy and inhabitable. Another issue out there that we have got to deal with is I get outraged by the degree to which we have a president who is trying to divide the American people up based on the color of our skin or where we were born or whatever. And he is especially targeting undocumented immigrants in this country right now. And every day there's something else out there that he's doing to these people. I happen to believe that we should do what the American people want us to do, and that is to pass comprehensive immigration reform and a path towards citizenship for the undocumented in this country. On my first day as president, through executive order, I will undo all of the racist executive orders that Trump has promulgated. And on day one, through executive order, we will be able to restore the legal protection for the 1.8 million young people and their parents eligible for the DACA program. And we are also going to create a humane border policy, not a policy in which federal agents seize little babies from the arms of their mothers. We're going to put an end to that. We are also going to deal with, in a very profound way, a broken and racist criminal justice system. Our goal is to invest in young people in terms of jobs and education, not investing in more jails and incarceration. We already have far too many people in jail. Our goal is to lower the prison population, not increase it. We are going to end private prisons and detention centers in this country. Corporations should not be making huge profits by locking up fellow Americans, and they are incentivized. More people in jail, more money they make. That is a very bad incentive. We are going to end cash bail in America, because right now you got 400,000 people in jail because they are too poor to afford bail to get out of jail. They haven't been convicted of anything. We're going to deal with that. And I'll tell you what else we're going to do. We are going to end the so-called war on drugs and legalize marijuana in every state in the country. And we are going to expunge the records of those people who have been arrested for possession of marijuana. There's another issue out there that I know is on everybody's mind, and I think certainly on the minds of people in Nevada, given what happened in Las Vegas a few years ago. And that is, we have got to do everything humanly possible to end the horrific gun massacres that we have seen in this country and the kinds of gun deaths that we are seeing. 40,000 people a year are dying as a result of gunshots. And every day, it seems, you turn on the television and there's another incident, one place or another. Our gun policy will be dictated by the American people, not the NRA. And that means we will have universal and expanded background checks. It means we're going to do away with the gun show loophole. It means that we're going to do away with the so-called straw man provision by which people can buy guns legally and then sell them to gang members or criminals. And it means doing what the American people want us to do now, and that is to end the sale and distribution of assault weapons in this country. Another issue that is on the minds of many people, many women, but I think men too, and that is understanding that it is women who have the right to control their own bodies, not the government. I get a little bit tired in the Senate of hearing some of my conservative colleagues get on the floor of the Senate and say, you know, we're conservative, we believe in small government, getting government off the backs of the American people. Well, if you believe in getting government off the backs of the American people, understand that it is women, not the government, who will control their own bodies. And my promise to you is I will never nominate somebody to the U.S. Supreme Court who is not 100% pro Roe v. Wade. Now, as I know some of the previous speakers have mentioned, the message of our campaign is us, not me, which sounds like a very good bumper sticker. And in fact, it is a very good bumper sticker. But it is actually a very profound statement in 3 words. What does that mean? What do I mean when I talk about us, not me? Who wants to take a shot at that? What does that mean, us, not me? Where we got? Somebody back here? All right, stand up. What does that mean?
Basically, it means that this campaign isn't about just getting you into office. It's about bringing all of us and having a say.
Good. Everybody hear him? That is a significant part of it. But there's something else I want you to think about. And that is, I'm going to tell you what no other candidate for president will tell you. And that is that given the nature of the distribution of wealth and power in America today, no president, now president is a pretty powerful position, no doubt about that, but no president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, no matter how well-intentioned and honest he or she may be, no president can do it alone. And I want you to think about how change in America has taken place. I want you to think about the history of the country and to understand that real change, which has impacted ordinary Americans, has never taken place from the top on down. It always has taken place from the bottom on up. So if I were to sit here and tell you, hey, elect me, I'm going to do it all, you got a problem, I'm going to solve it. That ain't the way it happens. And especially now, when Wall Street and the insurance companies and the drug companies and the fossil fuel industry and the prison industrial complex and the military industrial complex, these guys have unlimited amounts of money and incredible power. And the only way we defeat them is when millions of people stand up and are prepared to fight back. to fight for economic justice, to fight for social justice and ending discrimination across the board, to fight for racial justice, to fight for environmental justice. And that is what this campaign is about. This campaign is a justice campaign. It is a campaign that says in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we can and we must provide a decent life for all of our people, the children, the elderly. We must eliminate homelessness. We must eliminate hunger. We can do that. And when it comes to global crises like climate change, we're not going to sit back and deny the reality. We're going to lead the effort to bring countries together to address this existential crisis. That's what this campaign is about. So what I want to do now is just take a few minutes. You can ask me a question. I'll ask you a question. All right, how's that? Question I want to start off with is I hear on the floor of the Senate occasionally that we have the best healthcare system in the world. All right, well, that's a good question. I would like people to say a few words about your own experience with the healthcare system. Is it working for you, your family, your neighbors? All right, raise your hand. Tell me about it. Yes, ma'am. Peter, get her mic. We got a mic coming for you, ma'am. Just give us your name, if you could, please.
My name is Dawn. I live in Winnemucca, Nevada, and I'm currently dealing with some health issues. And unfortunately, I'm not able to get the care that I need because the nearest doctor is 155 miles away.
Okay.
So I have to drive 2.5 hours for a 20-minute appointment and drive 2.5 hours back.
Okay, and that is basically insane and very expensive. All right, and we have this crisis all over rural America. Hospitals are shutting down. We're not able, for a variety of reasons, to attract the doctors that we need to the areas that we need them, in rural America and in urban America. That's a very good point. Thank you for that. Other thoughts on the healthcare system? Gentleman right here up front. We get him a mic, Peter. Your mic is coming here, sir. Just give us your name, if you could, please.
I'm a disabled veteran. My health care has been, for the last few years, VA. I have something called Leon Beret syndrome. I'm paralyzed from here down. I'm not paralyzed from here down now. What I am saying is that if we, as a nation, had something individually as good as what I have, we would all be a lot better off.
Okay, thank you very much for saying that. And I'll tell you why. So you're happy with the care you're getting at the VA, yes? Okay, you see, VA, and I'm speaking as the former chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs. I know a little bit about it. VA is attacked every single day. VA is the largest healthcare system in America, integrated healthcare system in America today. And you know what? Every day there's a problem in a VA hospital like there is in every other hospital in America. Nothing is perfect. But in talking to the American Legion and the VFW and the DAV and the Vietnam vets and the AMVETS and all the organizations, what they say is they're proud of the VA. They want to see it improved, but they are proud of it, and they do not want to see it privatized. And I should also add, and we thank you so much for your service to our country. But I think there should be no debate in this room or in this country that when people put their lives on the line to defend our country, that they are entitled, that they have earned the best quality care that this country can provide to them. And right now in the VA, unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, There are many thousands of vacancies. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough nurses. As President of the United States, we're going to move as aggressively as we can to fill those vacancies and make sure that every veteran in this country who wants to utilize the VA will be able to do so and get the quality care he or she needs. All right, healthcare. Anything more on healthcare? I see a hand right over there. Yep.
My name is Aaron Adams, and my mom would rather pay the fine for not having health care than pay health care, and she works as a waitress.
Right. All right, here you have an absurd situation where people are choosing between paying a fine or not getting health care. Now, I don't know the income of your family, and I don't care to know, but under Medicare for All, I would be surprised if your family was not getting free health care or very, very inexpensive quality health care for your whole family. I see a hand right here, a woman in the purple sweatshirt. Great Basin College, all right.
I taught at Great Basin for 13 years. I'm a social worker.
Hold that mic a little bit closer, please.
I'm a social worker, and I taught social work at Great Basin for 13 years. But my issue with healthcare is mental health care.
Good.
And as with many professions in rural Nevada, we have very few providers. We have some wonderful providers, but they are booked solid all the time. And one of the issues at our hospital, and I just want to say that I have a son who committed suicide 14 months ago, and he was treated, in my estimation, very badly at our hospital. And it wasn't, there is a culture about addiction and mental illness that is not healthy. We don't know what to do with people that are having a mental health crisis. And unfortunately, my son was escalating. And we had visiting doctors that didn't note that. And he was discharged without any information, no resources, although, I mean, it's a long story, obviously. But I worry about the issue of addiction
Thank
in
you.
our country and what we can do about that. I asked that same question a long time ago.
All right. Well, thank you for asking the question, because it is a question on the minds of millions of people. Some of you may know it, some of you may not, but unbelievably, in the United States of America today, our life expectancy, how long we live, is actually going down for 3 years in a row. Down, down, down. Rest of the world going up, up, up. We're going down, down, down. And one of the reasons has to do with the opioid epidemic, where people are now addicted to drugs, major alcohol problems in America, and we're all sorry for your loss. But suicide is also a very growing phenomenon. And as part of all that, you hit the nail right on the head. We do not have in any way, shape, or form, I think no one can deny this, an adequate response to the mental health crisis and the addiction crisis which exists all over America. Don't think it's just your family and Nevada. Trust me, it is Vermont, it is New Hampshire, big time. So what we have to, and I want everybody to understand this, what Medicare for All means. Every time I go to a meeting, people say, well, does it cover this? Does it cover that? Medicare for All covers all health care needs. Last I heard, mental health was a health care need. So we cover that. Now, having said that, if you had Medicare for All tomorrow, as you've just indicated, and the previous person indicated, that will not solve all of the problems. We need more doctors, we need more psychiatrists, psychologists, mental health counselors, children's psychologists, And we need to get them to the parts of the country today that do not have them. Rural America, urban America, in many parts, many ways, do not have the kind of staffing that we need. So what Medicare for All is about is saying our goal is to do our best to address the crises, mental health, rural health care in general, not to make profits for the insurance companies. So it may well be that an insurance company does not make a lot of profit in rural Nevada, you know? So what? The function of healthcare is to provide healthcare to people, not to make profits for an insurance company. Okay, healthcare, any other issue? Yeah, Peter.
Yes, I'm Hugh Walker, living up now for 60 years. I'm a veteran of World War II. I happened to be a officer. I was a private, but I did serve, and I spent some time in China after the war. One of my duties there was guard at a Chinese bank, and I learned the method of their using money. But I won't get into that right now because I'd like to put in a plug for the Veterans Assistance Program and the VA hospital in Salt Lake City that I think has saved my life at least twice and probably 3 times. I left a message for me with his wife, and I hope you extend that.
That is why your generation is called the greatest generation. Okay, other questions, comments? Okay, yes, sir, right here.
I just want to say that it bothers me when I hear the scare tactic of if we go to Medicare for all, we'll get kicked off your insurance. I've had the same job for many years, and yet every year I'm, in essence, kicked off my insurance because we have to do insurance. So you have to call, find out if your doctors are in your new network and whatnot, and Medicare for all once, and you're always covered.
That's exactly right. All right, I'm sorry, your name, sir? Your name? Jerry. Jerry makes a very important point. My opponents say people love their private insurance. And yet, Jerry, I don't know where you work. I don't care to know where you work. But what he's saying, which is true for 15 million Americans every year, the employer says, oh, by the way, we're moving to a new health care program, health insurance program. We're saving money. And you may have a new doctor. You may have a new network. All right? You have no say about that. So 50 million people lose their private insurance every year because their employer changes, maybe they quit their jobs, or whatever. Medicare for all, like Medicare right now, is there. It's there today, it's there tomorrow. You can quit your job, you still have health insurance. Your employer can do whatever he or she wants, you still have your health insurance. Right now, picking up on Jerry's point, there are millions of people in this country who are employed at a job, not because they love that job, They're there because they have decent health insurance for their families. Think what Medicare for All means when you know you don't have to stay in that job because you're going to have better health care no matter what work you do. You start your own business, you're going to have quality health care as a human right. It's going to free up a lot of energy and ideas in this country for the economy. Okay, Peter, I see a hand, a woman way in the back there. Yeah, the woman in the, yes. Just give us your name, please.
Hi there, my name is Brenda Jackson. I'm here in, live here in Elko, and I did medical insurance billing for many years in the hospital and the clinic. And currently, my husband is on Medicare. Reimbursement rate is 30% as a primary, and very minimal on the secondary. So when you're thinking about increasing the pay for your workers, where are you going to, with such a low reimbursement rate, how are you going to support your business? We had that problem quite a while back here in Alco while I was working under medical billing, and we did have to, the office did have to take a look at whether to accept people with Medicare or Medicaid.
Are you talking about Medicaid?
Medicare and Medicaid.
Medicaid, okay.
Yeah, Medicaid is welfare, and it's Medicaid. Medicare currently, the reimbursement rate on a $2,000 bill is maybe $300.
Oh.
Okay.
So.
All right. On our legislation.
Good questions for you.
All right. Well, I got some good questions for you too. On the Medicare, look, it goes without saying that we want our providers to be well compensated. Right now, as I think you are aware, in rural America, we are losing dozens and dozens and dozens of hospitals, which means that people have to travel long distances if they want to have a baby. But to answer your question, when you have a rational healthcare system, not dictated or controlled by people who are in it for the profit, we will make sure that all of our providers receive the compensation they need. Now, one of the problems that we have right now, if I can say, is you got some doctors who are making literally millions and millions of dollars a year. On the other hand, you have some primary care family positions in rural America who are making $70,000, $80,000 a year. And our goal is to make sure that those doctors who are practicing in underserved areas get the compensation they need so that we will have those doctors taking care of people who today are too often ignored. Okay, young lady over there. Get her a mic. Yes, ma'am. Peter, that's the woman right there. Yeah.
Hi there, Bernie. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I've been here today from Salt Lake volunteering for the best presidential campaign in history. As a transgender person in America, I'm fortunate to have pretty good private insurance. But many of my trans friends and kind of my siblings, so to speak, are failed by our private healthcare system. I want to know how you respond to the Trump administration's attacks on trans healthcare, and also how you think Medicare for All can better serve trans individuals like me.
Medicare for all, the word is all. And look, what Trump is trying to do is what demagogues always do. Trump didn't invent this approach. It goes on all over the world, has always gone all over the world. You take minorities, and you then take the population that may be angry for whatever reason. Maybe people are angry about the economy, they're working long hours, they're not making enough money, and you say, you know what the reason for that problem is? It's the transgender community. It's the gay community. It's the African-American community, it's Latino community, it's undocumented, it's the Jews, it's the Irish, it's the Italian, you name it. You pick a group and you try to foment hatred against that group. And that is what Trump does every single day. And there has never been a president. You know, you've had conservative presidents who I've disagreed with on policy issues, but who have not gone out of their way. I'll give you an example of this. And I think it says a lot about him. I disagreed with George W. Bush on everything. I did. He was a conservative Republican, disagreed with him. But do you all remember, after the terrible attack on 9/11, do you remember what Bush did a few days afterward? Anyone here remember what he did? What did he do? He went to a mosque. He went to a mosque to show the American people that it was a handful of disgusting terrorists who attacked this country, not a religion. That was a very brave and decent thing for him to do. But Trump, from way back when, Trump was the leader of the so-called birther movement, trying to deny legitimacy to the first African-American president in our history, Barack Obama. Trump's attacks on the transgender people, Trump's attacks on the Muslim people, Trump's attacks on the Latino people. So all the same efforts to divide, divide, divide. And what our campaign is exactly the opposite of what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to divide us up. We're bringing our people together, all of us, around an agenda that works for all the American people. Okay, maybe one last question right there in the blue sweatshirt. All right, this is your moment. The TV cameras are on you. Don't blow it. All right, what do you got?
So I'm also in the, oh geez, I just lost my beat. Hey, so right now currently I'm 21. Back when I was 18, I got indebted to $70,000 of medical debt that I obviously still haven't paid.
We won't tell anybody that.
My big question was, it's very important to me, is how are we going to get the money out of politics? How are we going to end the corruption and get everybody back in check?
Good. Well, we're going to end on maybe a question that impacts all questions and everything that goes on. You know, I got candidates who are running, who go around the country, going into millionaire living rooms and collecting all kinds of money. We got others who develop super PACs where zillions of dollars coming in from the wealthiest people in this country, from billionaires literally. But they say all of those campaign contributions from the rich, they don't impact me. Really? Then why do you think these guys are giving you the money? Of course it impacts you. So you asked the right question. How do we get money out of politics? Well, the first thing we do is overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. And then we move to public funding of elections so we don't have super PACs and billionaires buying elections. And then we move to end voter suppression in this country. And we make it easier for people to vote, not harder. That's some of what we do. All right, we've got to get going, but let me just take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming out this afternoon. With your help, we're going to win here in Nevada. And we think if we win here in Nevada, we have an excellent chance to win the nomination. And if we win the nomination, I am damn sure we're going to defeat Donald Trump. So thank you all very much. Let's go forward together. Thank you.